Todd.
Second.
Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5 ayes. Okay. Public comment. This public comment is for anyone who has a concern they'd like to share with the board. I ask that you please stand up, state your name and address, and share your comments. So, floor is open. Anyone has any comments tonight? Well, if no one has any comments, we can move along. Sure, no one has a comment. All right, we'll close public comment and move along. Do we have council member concerns? Doug?
None.
None. Todd?
No, the only one was the previous one I made about the water purveyor comment. That is there, if there's anything from the event that we need to factor into that, or if there's any action we need to take from a timing perspective because of that.
Okay.
It's more of a question that the.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on to discussion. Audit of the Justice Court. As we did last year, we need 2 board members to perform an audit for the Justice Court. Do I have 2 volunteers? Do we have a deadline that has to be done by?
There is no deadline. In fact, the one that they just did was months after the request, so no, we just takes
I
time.
think we should do it relatively soon. Okay. Do I have 2 board members who would like to take on the audit? Okay, no one wants to audit the.
I did it last time with somebody else. I don't want to hog the audits, but so if somebody else wants to do it, feel free. I don't mind helping out though.
I'll help somebody with. I'll work with somebody else.
Okay, you 2 want to do it? All right, Bob and Todd, you are officially on the audit list. If you guys can make it, how did you do it last year? You made an appointment with Michelle and you saw her at night?
I don't know if it was at night or it was like on a weekend.
Well,
No, it was a weekday
it might
in
have
the
been a
morning.
weekend. Right.
I think it was on a weekday in the morning, but that was only because that's what worked with Nick's schedule and my schedule. I'm very flexible, so it could be at night, during the day, or during the week, on the weekend, whatever, so.
How long does it take normally?
Oh, 3-4 hours.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
No, just so I
No,
know.
I
Bob.
would say, an hour to an hour and a half, maybe.
Let me know, I'll just arrange.
And I'm not sure if we met independently prior to that or had any discussion with Michelle prior. We might have, I don't remember. But it wasn't very arduous at all. It wasn't. Once we got going, it was pretty.
So you're gonna arrange to set that up and let me know, or?
Sure, if you want, I'll talk to Michelle and see when.
Just let me know then, and I'll, arrange to meet with you. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Next, we're going to move on to FEMA. Residents of our town are eligible for FEMA aid. If they had flooded basements that ruined their furnaces, hot water heaters, washers, dryers, anything of that nature, I urge them to call and register with FEMA because there is some aid available. I have had phone calls from residents who have had creeks near their homes that they've had a lot of erosion in those creeks. We have a large area of the Norman Scale where there are trees stuck in the Norman Scale. I was at a lady's house yesterday down along there, and her house was surrounded by water off of Birchwood Drive, and the trees that are stuck in, the Norman Scale are probably going to create a dam. So we are, from what I understand from the county, the first step was to deal with individuals who had loss in their homes. Anyone who's had a loss in their home and wants to register has until the end of October. If you do not register by the closing of that, by the end of October, you cannot go retroactive So the sooner you register, the better. The papers are here at Town Hall. I have them with me. And anyone, any of you guys who run into anyone, they're here. You might want to carry some with you. The next stage in this is to have Army Corps of Engineers come out and evaluate the area. They're going to be evaluating from Jacopo's farm up on 7, probably even up further down to see what kind of damage is there. Hopefully we can get help with downed trees in the creek and some other areas of erosion. But that is the next step. If you hear of any residents who have an issue with creeks near their homes or with their homes, please urge them to contact Carol or myself at Town Hall so they can get their names on a list, or to get the FEMA registry paperwork. There's also a FEMA lady who's been out. She's been out a couple of times. She actually went to this residence yesterday. She's happy to go to any resident who has had any sort of loss, so she can look and see and determine whether they can acquire the FEMA aid. So I really urge everyone to get the word out, because this time of year, we may not turn on our furnace until, well, the weather keeps up the way it is, but people may not turn on their furnace until the beginning of November, and they might not know. So that is the FEMA update. But I do know that some residents in town have already received checks, and they've been fairly helpful. So urge everyone to register if they need. Now on to the Pine Grove Fire Department expansion. Those of you who live in the Pine Grove Fire Department district, which is the majority of us are in the south end of town, they are putting out to the public that they would like an expansion of the firehouse. My understanding is that this is a $3.5 million project. Can I find the number in my paperwork? $3.5 million project. Many of you who live in the district have already received one mailing. The public presentation is tonight to the Planning Commission in Rotterdam, and they are holding a public information meeting October 18th at the Pine Grove Fire Station. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that this is something coming up, and the vote. I don't know when the vote is. Is that? Do you have papers in front of you?
It is October 25th.
Okay. So I urge everyone to go out and vote. And it's held right at the firehouse, I believe, voting.
Doesn't say, but you assume.
And the PowerPoint presentation with all the details will be here at Town Hall if anyone wants to look through them. And I'm sure if somebody wants them, they'd be happy to hand them out.
Are you talking about this?
Yes, this can be available for review. Yep. Okay. Okay, REMS. I was contacted this week, last Wednesday or Thursday, by REMS. I was CC'd in an email. Apparently REMS is trying to have a meeting with John Tobiason from Potterkill and Wes Blessing from Pine Grove. Apparently Apparently REMS is dissatisfied that the town of Princetown did not enter into a $22,000 a year contract with them. We did speak with REMS back April, May, I think it was. And we did hear, we made them an offer, and they counter-offered with $22,000, and we felt at the time that Princetown should not be the only town funding REMS if Rotterdam wasn't. Rotterdam is still not funding REMS. There's no contract signed between Rotterdam and REMS, and apparently they're talking in the email made reference that REMS may pull their service from Princetown. I've heard no more.
Are they talking about pulling their service from Rotterdam?
I didn't see that mentioned, and I don't understand. I don't understand the difference. But so, John and Wes and I have spoken, and they're in agreement with the board as far as we all still agree Princetown should not be the only town paying for or subsidizing REMS. And Mohawk has come to us twice and offered to be our first responder and at no cost to the town. And they have not pulled their service. I guess if they're pulling their service, that means they won't be our first responder. They would be a mutual aid for us. But if that were to happen, Mohawk would step in and we'd still be covered. So it's okay. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because that is something new that came up with them. I haven't heard a word from anyone here talk to REMS since the meeting we had.
Not since the last time.
I have not either, but I did try to get a copy of the contract between Rotterdam and REMS, and they don't have a signed contract. There is a contract that they tried to get passed. It was not for the town to give any money to REMS. It was for billing for the town of Rotterdam to bill REMS for the advanced life support service, and they still haven't signed that. So
can they pick and choose on who they would decide on who the first responders they can be for?
Rod
No.
or REMS?
Yes.
REMS can take. They do not have to be our first responder. Right now, they have a certificate in Rotterdam and Princetown to be our first responders. They can change that and just be a mutual aid for us if they so choose. I don't know why they would do that, but apparently their argument is that from the West Station, I believe Wes told me, into Princetown, the mileage is too far, so they're losing money on calls, which doesn't make any sense to me because if you clock their station, which is on Cardiff. No, there's another one on Cardiff Road, which is off Hamburg Street, right? Cardiff?
It's right on Hamburg.
Well, clock that to I don't know, Rotterdam Junction or Pattersonville or any, Princetown's no further. So they can pull that if they want to. They can, but.
It still goes through the fire department and whoever's available comes.
And we have, Mohawk will come and serve us and be our first responder and have a certificate in our town to be the first responder in no time. They've already offered twice. So I think they're just trying to use a little leverage for us. And we bailed them out and we helped them for 2 years to the tune of $64,000. So I don't think that's very fair to the town of Princetown. However, that's what's going on there. The 9/11 ceremony, I would just like to thank the Civic Committee and those involved in putting the boards up. We had a nice ceremony here on September 11th, and I think everyone who participated did a very nice job. And it was nice that we were actually one of the few towns that did a ceremony. So a lot to be said for our residents and our civic committee. And Doug Thorpe is sitting in, who is one of the people who put up the boards. Doug Carandy also helped put up the boards and other places donated things. And we went through this last Sunday, so I don't want to elaborate all again, but it was very nice. So thank you. The water purveyor law, which is not under discussion, but I think it ought to be. Water purveyor law has been in front of us for a long time. I think we ought to do something with it. We've had comments. We didn't have any further tonight. Is there anything? There are a few obvious things with the water purveyor law. Obviously, there's a correction that needs to be made. That would be local law number, whatever, of 2011. We did make the change and agree in our meetings prior to that we wanted it restricted to the W1 and not the W2, 3, and 4. Other than that, are there any changes that we want to make on this? Because I think we should get a clean copy done and get it on everyone's desk and hopefully put it up to pass next month. And now with this crick issue, and, you know, I think that is.
The three people that have the wells up there, they're gonna be grandfathered in? Is this the way we're, under a 5-year rule? They're gonna be, is it for 5 years that they're not gonna, they have a special use permit for 5 years, correct?
No. They have 5 years to obtain a special
To
use
obtain a
permit.
special use permit.
That's different than,
After 5 years, they have to,
they have to obtain a special use permit within 5 years.
within the 5 years.
Mhm.
And all three of them up there have a special use permit? No.
One,
Only one has it?
only one. Mhm.
And if they don't get it in 5 years,
They can't be a water provider in this town.
even if they're approved by the state.
Well, if they're approved by the state,
I mean,
and we
if they're
discussed
not
this in the
state,
work
then-
meeting, if they're approved to haul potable water by the state, then that's pretty much meeting the criteria for the town.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying.
Right, so like
Um,
A1, it will not, I hope, not be hard for them to obtain a special use permit in this town because they have a DOH permit. They have a whole stringent bunch of regulations that he has to meet already.
So the water purveyor law is only gonna be within, how much of a radius of W1?
How much of a radius of the
Yeah, how many-
W1?
Yeah, how much is it gonna entail? The whole, that W1 that we're talking, which entails how many miles up and down Route 7?
You haven't looked at that?
Well, I was talking with Gino, we were talking, what'd you say it was?
It looked like it was around a quarter of a mile.
W1 is pretty much from our wells down to what, Birchwood? Is that W1, even that far?
No.
A1 then,
A1, right
that's
around
that
there.
area. right
might
now.
be a W1.
Yeah.
So it's only gonna entail that area that they can't, that you can't have any more wells in.
This is what we discussed in the meeting we had, right, 2 months ago?
Yep.
Pete, you have more?
There's a referral to the county planning board that needs
Right.
to take place with this, because it's within 500 feet of a state road. So it just needs to be referred to the county.
Does it have to go to the state?
No,
Just the
as far as
county?
I know.
Do we need a resolution to pass it on to the county?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
They don't run.
I think the county likes to see a resolution. Yeah, and then
Okay.
there's a form that we fill out and it says that the town board made a
Has
resolution.
been to send it to the county. Fair enough.
Okay.
So we've got one person that has a special use permit and the other ones don't.
Correct.
But they can still apply within 5 years. And every 5 years after that, they have to keep applying
I
for
think it's
it?
every year. Is it every year? You know,
I thought I read it every 5 years,
is it every 5? Okay.
but I don't have it in front of me yet. I can't.
I've read it so many different times now I can't.
Yeah, it's no less than every 5 years.
Okay.
So we're gonna plan
Which
on
we're going,
taking action on that in our next meeting. So everyone,
I don't
if they
see why
have-
not. I mean,
if
this
they
has
have any
been-
other